Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and yeah, as I described in the review of the S&T Enfield, that I'd be taking a look and stripping it down if you guys wanted it. So here I am. Downside to this gun is, with it being so freakishly long, I'm going to have to do my best to keep it in shot on the camera for you, but that's just due to how big this setup is and how long the rifle is to keep it in frame. So first of all, let's get straight into it. I'm going to take the magazine out, press the mag release, take the magazine out, put it to one side. And we're actually going to go straight to the front of the rifle. And we've got two screws. So the first one is on the left hand side of the iron sight bracket or metal piece here that you see. And the second one is located underneath. You'll need a flathead screwdriver. So first of all, I'm going to remove the one underneath, which is a coarse thread wood screw there. And the second one on the left hand side of the iron sight housing, whatever you want to refer to this part as. There you got like a little machine screw there. Both using the flathead. Once you've done that, you can remove this metal housing. Now, the way I'm going to tell you how to do it is just the way that I'm doing it on screen. This isn't going to be, this is the only way you can take this thing apart, because there's many aspects to this rifle. But first of all, I'm just going to pop the iron sight, the front iron sight out here, and it's just a pin that goes through there. So it's not actually that tight at all. So let's just tap that out. Tap slightly with a little hammer, move that pin, and then the front sight will come loose. After that, we're going to take the sling bracket off here. Now this is a hinged bracket, so you'll still need a flathead screwdriver. Remove this machine screw, and when you're reattaching this, if you're looking down on the rifle, the longer side goes to, basically the longer side sticks out the same side as the bolt handle, just so you can easily remember that. And then this bracket, we're just going to lever it off there because it's hinged, as you'll see there. Perfect. So with that off, this wooden piece then comes quite light, but to get this off, what you're going to have to do is just lightly unscrew the first flathead as you come from the barrel down to the action. Just turn that off once or two turns, and then that just gives you a little bit of alleviated pressure here. One more turn there, and that just enables the handguard to move ever so slightly, and we can slide the top wooden piece off. If you are treating the wood and such, you can remove this little metal front piece here. Set that to one side. Now, removing the rest of the stock, you can actually completely ignore this middle screw, because that just holds the metal piece that sits both sides of the iron sight. So the one that we just loosened off, we're going to remove that screw entirely. We can nab that out there. It's just retaining in under its own weight. So once we've done that one, there's another flathead located just here on the housing. Just going to take that one off. Because I've got this gun upside down, they're wanting to stay in under their own weight. Let's pop that screw off there. You've also got another flathead, which is a very tiny one, located to the left of the trigger, however you look at the rifle. So we're just going to remove that machine screw as well. Like so. And then with those two screws removed, what we can actually do is pull this metal piece out. And then with that out, we can remove the rest of the stock. Now that screw that we've loosened, we can obviously push that out here if it wants to come out. There we go. And then we have the stock here. So you can see that metal bracket there. I'm not going to take the screw out on that because I really don't see the need, and it also helps to stop this rolling around the tabletop here. Set that to one side. The bracket which held in the frontmost flathead screw on the barrel here, we can just slide this all the way off like so. And then we have the rear iron sight and the housing here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to tap this pin out. So we've got a pin. And when you tap that pin out, you're going to want to do it on the same side. So if you're looking down the iron sights, you want to tap it left to right, because on the right hand side it's knurled. So it's going to be hard pushing it out the other way, you might damage the housing. This last wooden piece is very simple to take off. You've got these little spring clips, so you just want to push up and out very carefully either side, and they're screwed into the top here, which is why you can see the screws poking through on the rifle. With that taken off, we're left with this. So we've got the hop, the feed housing, we've got the barrel which is attached. We can easily remove the barrel by tapping this pin out here. And the stock is going to be the only part that I won't remove in this video, and there's a reason for that. So you've got two flathead screws on the back here. You remove those two flathead screws and the metal cap here will come off as you'd expect. And then you've got a really long channel down here, and unfortunately the screw that they've attached it with is an Allen key, and I don't have any Allen keys of that size with that much length and throw on them. So it's literally that Allen key. You can pull that screw out, and then this screws onto another bracket, which you can see here just behind the trigger mech. So for one intents and purposes, this video is not really going to stop you from taking the thing further apart. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to remove the trigger housing. I'm just going to pop my flathead on and tap that out there. They can be quite tight. I'm going to stand that up, and I'm going to use a little posi screwdriver to remove full screws. Again, I'm just going on the right view, which sounds like it should. I think these should leave. Let's turn that screw, and that will relieve the trigger mech. I'm just going to hold the screws in here, and you can see there we've got a it looks to be some kind of steel material, 90-degree sear, very good. Looks very sturdy, much better than previous models. If you've ever took an S&T M1903 apart, you'll understand exactly what I mean there. So moving on, you've got two Allen key screws here. What size is this? I think this is a 3mm. There we go, the housing removed. And we've got the feed ramp. And once we've loosened that screw off there, we can pull the feed ramp off. Very simple little piece there. And then we're going to take the barrel off. So we need to tap that pin out. From the looks of it, tap it out left to right. That came out pretty easy. Just pull that out and push it. There we go. With that pin out, we can remove the outer barrel. It's very long indeed. And we're left with just the action here. I think what we're going to do next is probably take these two screws out. So that takes us. Really simple as well. The screws are very loose. So inside, it must be fairly, light torques to for a reason. So back in sure it takes 5 minutes to do thread through the screws. So once I've released those, I can pull the hop unit. See the outer barrel part section there that holds the hop unit there. We've got S&T Armament logo underneath, which isn't visible when the gun's all together. And we'll take this apart in just a moment. With it being a design where there's a tappet plate involved, obviously we're going to have to remove this before we remove the cylinder. Start that off. And these do tend to like to ping off, so be careful. There we go. They've actually done that part in a way where it will actually hold itself on, so it's not going to fall off. I'm going to slide this tappet plate off here. This little arm which sits in the cylinder, which goes backwards and forwards with the cylinder there. Just going to get this piece, pull on it ever so slightly, and then that allows the cylinder to be removed. And we have pretty much everything apart. So we've got the safety still attached to the receiver here, and we can see in the back there's a little silver piece that moves, which obviously just blocks the trigger. This is your main bracket where the stock's being screwed into, and it's just because I'm here in my home office / studio. I don't have the tool here. I don't even think we've got the tool and Allen key that long enough in the workshop. And then with the cylinder head, you can actually just use some needle nose pliers if you don't have a cylinder tool. It is nice and tight. That's a nice surprise, because a lot of the times with these rifles, you get the cylinder heads and they're so loose. There we go, piston flies off. You'll see there, very simple piston, it's very small. It is made of aluminium, it would seem. For the amount of shots that's gone through it, there's literally not a single mark on the rear of the piston. It's nicely greased, not too much, not too little. Spring is a very, very small spring indeed. I would say those springs have been slightly trimmed, because you can see the deformation in the spring. You tend to get deformation like this when the spring's been heated. It's actually got a little spacer on there, so I'm wondering if we can, it can be as simple as we make a little spacer for it. And we can bump the power up on the rifle. I will have to see what it's like fully compressed, or whether we're going to have to get a slightly stronger spring. But metal spring guide as well. For those of you out there that want to lose a bit of power, if you're using it at sites where they don't allow you to, or you don't want to run it as a a powerful bolt action, you want to be able to engage at any distance, you might get quite a bit of loss if you just remove that. You might get like sort of 10, 15, maybe even 20 feet per second loss. Some testing would be needed, but it is a possibility. You could also just trim the spring slightly if it's a bit too powerful. I think this was doing about 380. The cylinder construction is very, very good indeed. Probably one of the best cylinders I've seen from S&T. I didn't have the Car 98 apart though, mind you. This is going to be a simple spring on a pin. I don't really see much need to take that apart. There's not a problem with it. It's not loose in any way. Let's pop that to one side. Let's have a look at the hop unit. So let's take this apart. Going to remove the singular screw at the bottom there. We're going to have to remove the hop arm, so you get access to pull this out. Pull this out here. Hop arm comes off, and we can slide the hop unit out of the housing. Very simple indeed. The hop doesn't look bad at all. Nice and zoomed in there so you'll be able to see. First I'm going to remove these two screws on this side bracket. Again, using a small Phillips screwdriver, posi screwdriver, whatever you want to call it. You're going to come off easily enough. 1, 2. There's a bit of leverage there. And that comes off. That should enable us to slide out the adjuster. Sorry if my hands are covering this here. Come on. There we go. We can pull that out. Small plastic piece there. Then we've got 3 screws. One, 2, and 3. There goes my screwdriver. 2 out. Is that going to be a slightly... No, they're all the same size. We can pull the housing off. Don't see any more screws before we damage anything. Let's flip this over. Yeah, there we go. Be careful that the little BB stopper there doesn't fly out. This looks quite familiar, doesn't it? So a lot of aftermarket parts might be available to switch this out with. I haven't had a VSR, standard VSR one apart for some time now, so we'll have to see what's compatible. Is this going to come apart? Yes, it is. And then this looks very much like a VSR bucking and barrel type. The barrel is not of bad quality at all. It looks nice and shiny down the bore. See there. Not by far not the worst barrel. I'll have to get a tape measure and see how long that is. The hop up, just a simple nub style, so we're going to want to replace this, of course. Just to see what parts we have available that will be compatible, get this thing upgraded. Right. Now, let's get this thing put back together. So, I hope I've covered everything there. Obviously the stock is obviously going to be the stock. There's not much I can do about that at the moment. We'll have to just get some specialty tools and some long Allen keys. It's not something that we come in to contact with very often, apart from the odd, double eagle products or something. They like to put Allen key screws down their stock tubes and such. But it shouldn't be difficult at all. Let's get this put on here, make sure I'm putting it on the right way. Push that together. While we're putting pressure on pushing that together, we're going to push the BB stopper in, which allows us to close everything down. And we can put these 3 screws in. Now, just a bit of commentary while I'm putting this back together. I am superbly delighted with the the internal quality on this thing. It is more expensive compared to other models like the Car 98 and others previous. However, a lot of things now are becoming more expensive just due to Brexit, the pandemic, A lot of stuff going on in the world, so things are getting more expensive. That obviously doesn't help. That being said, I think this is, I haven't took the Kar 98 apart, but I think this is one of the most sturdy rifles I've ever witnessed S&T produce. And I did purchase this one. I tend not to purchase a lot of things nowadays unless it really does impress me, which this did. And you know, once we get the Kar 98 back in, I'll grab a Kar 98 as well, because I really did like that. And it's something, you know, different from the norm. Obviously VSR 10s I think are done to death now. The TAC 41 was a massive disappointment. And I actually received a lot of negative messages and such from saying anything bad about the TAC 41. I wanted to love that rifle, I really did, but it's left such a bad taste in my mouth that even though it is working now with the help of Dan at Dan Sniper Mechanic, I was sending him a lot of questions about it because he's obviously played around with them a lot more than what I have. I've had countless, you know, I'm not bashing Silverback because I've had countless SRSs. I love the SRS platform. I think it's absolutely a stonking platform. I just feel with the TAC 41, I don't know, something just really bugs me about that platform. And now that they're releasing all these parts that are sort of marketed in a way that you need them to sort of make the rifle shoot well. I bought into the TAC 41 because I thought it was a platform that I was purchasing which I wouldn't have to do a lot to, in all honesty. Where things like this, I mean, it far outshot the TAC 41, but, you know, that being said, I bought it on the understanding that I'm probably going to put, you know, a nice barrel, a nice hot rubber, probably upgrade the power. Whether I mess with the externals now it looks is completely up to the YouTube audience and seeing how crazy we go with it. But that's a hot back together. That was, you know, 3 or 4 minutes maybe. So that's back together. Let's do the cylinder. Spring guide, spring, piston. And hopefully it's not a hard task to get this up to the sort of power limits that bolt actions tend to have, because I would use this as a bolt action sniper. I'd want to get the benefit of having the velocity with the heavy ammo. However, that being said, there's nothing wrong with me fielding this as it is right now, apart from having no magazines for it. I would happily use it at the 380, so let's grab the stock and receiver here. So zoom you guys out. I'm going to pop that bar to one side. Slide the cylinder in. You know what else I love about this bar on the side as well? It keeps the cylinder straight. Like when I took the, like that there, it keeps the bolt relatively straight from moving, so it did take a while to come out, but perhaps that's because they've put the extra effort in. It's a bit of an edit there because I've got to put the tappet plate on, but I'm going to pop the tappet feeding ramp, feeding whatever you want to call it. Looks like a tappet plate to me, so that's what I'm going to call it. It technically does the same job as a tappet plate. That clicked on there, which is nice. It's not going to come off easily. Spin this upside down, slide that in, pop the housing screws on here. Make sure not to torque them down too much because we don't want to damage it. And much to the comments and the dislike of others about this, keeping this thing original, I'm so tempted to modernise this. Just be a little bit different, you know what I mean? Perhaps Cerakote all the metallic parts. Nice colour that's a bit more authentic maybe. There we go. And could even do something even more drastic, like create a mould for all these wooden parts, and maybe even produce them in some kind of carbon fibre composite, shedding all that weight, because this does weigh, when you add it all together, it does weigh a fair bit. I was saying that the outer barrel is heavier than what I thought it would be, but perhaps all the meat's there in the receiver. We'll find out, I suppose. Feeding ramp goes on. Let's just match that up. That sit flush before we tighten it down. Again, not to over tighten anything. You have to be careful with these guns that are made in China. So that's on. We're going to get the little bracket here. Put that back on there with a 3mm Allen key. It's easy there. Pop the outer barrel on, sliding it over the inner barrel. Make sure to line that little notch up with the receiver. And we tapped it out left to right, so let's reverse that and go right to left. Give it a tap. This pin wasn't tight at all. There we go, that's in. I'm going to take the trigger mech. Again, what's great is the fact that they've used a 90-degree system, so if someone does come out with a nice piston, you know, looking at you, Dan Jones, perhaps a nice wasp for it or something. Who knows? But the sear system looks sturdy, really sturdy, and the sear is definitely steel. It looks sintered almost like a gear. It's got that kind of moulded finish to the sear where you can see like on the edges when they do like anti-reverse latches and such. Maybe right, maybe wrong. It's just a guess. Going to pop the trigger housing down here. Put these screws in. Real quick. So these 4 screws on the trigger housing. Knit those up. So we're going to take the spring load stopper, pop that in there, let it line up, and we're going to give it a tap. There you go, that's in place. Let's give it a test to make sure. Superb. Right, next on the agenda, let's put the top cover on. This might be a bit tricky getting it over there because it wants to try and catch where the hop goes in. So doing it at an angle more biased towards the hop lever, which you'll see there like that, is the easiest way I found to do it. Just going to rotate this over because it has to go over these 2 little latches here. Once it goes over, it'll click into place, and it ain't going anywhere. So rear iron sight into place. We went left to right, so now we're going to go right to left on the pin. Pop that in there. Put cloth underneath. Try and do it in a way it doesn't rock the camera mount, so. Light taps. Just takes flush like that. Right, we're going to flip this over. First we're going to put the little collar on the barrel for the stock. Flip this upside down like so. We're then going to take the main stock part, slide this on like that. Just let everything get seated. Again, take your time with it, don't force it because the wood will bow out there where it's thin on two sides. Once that's in, I'm just going to put that screw in further up just to hold that collar in place. A bit of a long video, but do your best. The mag well can go on. Big screw at the front there. We can secure that down. And we want the little fine screw. There it is. Get this tiny little screw here, goes through the trigger guard there. Like so. Oh, it keeps sliding out, doesn't it? Like so, without torquing down the frontmost screw. We're going to place the top wooden piece on. That sits into place. Once that top wooden piece is on, we're going to tighten up the front screw, which is going to pull it, because it puts pressure down here. Without loosening this off, you wouldn't get the top wooden piece out without potentially damaging it. That's done. We're going to open up this bracket like that. Push the bracket over the stock, clamp it together. We've got the sling point with the longest section, same side as the bolt handle. If you want to keep it the way it was, you can always reference the sling loop on the stock there because it's exactly the same. Pop this back together. There we go. Slide this bad boy back because we're quite long here. We're going to put the front sight back on first. Let's tip that on its side just so you can see. So once that lines up with where it should be, we can press that in. Just give it a tap. Let's do my best not to scratch this. So let's tuck that in. And then the last metal piece there, slide that on. We have the coarse wood screw, which of course goes on the bottom there. And then the screw, the machine screw that goes in the front housing. Whoop, there we go. That's together, and then we pop the magazine in, which is such a lovely fitting magazine. The mechanism that they've done for it is great, because when you push the mag release, it falls out under its own weight, which is great. It's nice and securely in there. And that's it, the Enfield's back together. Perfectly done. Any questions, put them down in the comments below. I'd appreciate it if you hit like on the video and subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 40,000 subscribers. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for this video. I know it's been a long one. Hope this helps you taking it apart, putting it back together, whichever part you seem to be replacing. The next video I do on it will be about retreating the wood, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.